Hey everyone, welcome to Z's Bees. We're out at Peaceful Valley. This is what was left over on the hives after we extracted a couple boxes, I think 2 or 3 boxes from each hive. So this was put onto the hive, the top box that was on there. It wasn't fully drawn out, so we left it on there, moved it all the way down. Now today we're going to check and see how they're looking to see if we can pull this final one on this, what's going to be about a 90-some plus degree day. It's going to be almost time for winter preparation. So Sarah's here filming for me. She doesn't have a bee suit on, so we'll see how pleasant the bees are. This hive typically has been very good, but as we get further in the year, they become less and less willing to accept people around their hive. So let's take a look and see what we have. I do see some what appears to be drawn. When I say drawn, that's drawing out the comb. This end frame doesn't. So there's nothing on this one. Let's see if we work over here. This is good. They've started to fill that. That's the second frame in. And it looks like here we're working with some honey. You see how almost neon the wax is. I think that's probably from goldenrod. So that's pretty good. We'll have to really check and see what the moisture content is on those. But now as we move over, this is more capped over. This looks good. I think we'll grab this box today. All right, I'm not sure how well the camera's picking up on it, but it's real yellow as opposed to the nice white comb that we had for the springtime. The wax even is real yellow, and I think that's goldenrod. So I don't know how much honey we'll extract from this. I may have to dry this down, and by what I'll do with that is I'll put it in my basement by a dehumidifier and a fan, because a lot of this, or what I'm going to do, I'm just debating, I might leave this one on here. There's still a ton of goldenrod around, and just give them a chance to maybe cap this over a little bit more. And I think that's what I'm going to do more that I look at this, because they're still working this pretty heavily, and they're still storing some in there. I don't know how much they're storing yet throughout the year, but I'm going to close this hive back up, and I think we're going to give it a week or two yet. Yes. We're going to button these guys back up. I think we'll still get another box of honey out of this one, but it's just going to be at a later date. So now let's jump over to this one. The last time we were pulling honey supers, I had a surprise because this hive was re-queening themselves, and I found the queen up in my honey super. So when she came back, she was probably smaller and she could fit through the queen excluder. So what I did is I took her, I moved her down, but then she was bigger, so I think then she was down here. But what happened is she laid actually in this box, and I'm hoping that they went through and they backfilled it with nectar. So we should see a frame in here that's a little bit darker because it held brood. This one is much more glued down, and actually we're not going to get too much more from this one. So I'll show you what we're dealing with here. So just barely drawing, or not even drawing out, a little bit. And then this frame, this next one, you can see where she laid this out. See the difference in color? So this was all brood. And then what they did is they backfilled it with nectar, which is exactly what we wanted, because the bees came out, they moved down, they'll move down in the hive, they'll take over that job. But that's why this frame looks darker. There's nothing wrong with it, it's just that because it held brood in there, it just darkens the nectar. So same thing here. You can see all the work that she did up in the honey super. This was all brood, so this was all bees. And I think we're going to leave this one on them as well. We'll see what they can do in the next couple of weeks. I don't know. The amount of work she did up there is just crazy. And that's really all there is up here. So these locations out here was very much a springtime location. They probably stored almost all of their honey within the first couple months or first couple weeks of beekeeping season. So what I'm going to do here actually going to take this off. I'm just going to inspect to see that our queen that we moved down is still laying. This is a really active hive up front. It looks like our queen scooter's stuck on there. That's fine. So now, what I'd love to see is a bunch of frames brood. So these frames over here look kind of open yet, like they haven't drawn out, and that's sometimes normal. And as we work over, I'd like to find brood. So this is a pollen frame. Look at all the different color pollens in there. So when it's stored in the comb, that's called bee bread. They mix the pollen with the honey, and that's what they eat. So they have proteins and carbohydrates. Nothing on that other side. So now, I love what I'm seeing on this next frame. Usually your bee bread is right next to your, look at that. We have an active queen. This hive successfully requeened themselves. And her pattern's really good, especially getting ready for winter. This was just laid out. You see this beautiful pattern of this rainbow of, you have your open nectar, your capped over honey, your brood that's in here. At this point, no more drones are getting laid. In fact, if you watch the front of the hive, they'll probably be kicking all the drones out soon because their work for the year is done. And it's kind of a death sentence. They kick them out and that's it. So let's see how many frames she has of brood. That was one frame. Let's see if we can find her on this one. Just seeing if I see eggs in here. This one they're hatching out. Usually when they hatch out, the queen really likes to go back and lay right away. Sarah, are you getting bothered at all by any bees?
Nope.
I was going to say they appear to be just, again, really, really calm. I don't see the queen here, but this was just hatched out. Let's move over another one. This is really good going into winter. I see a lot of stores. So a couple little, what they call emergency cells. Right here is an emergency cell. Oh, and there she is. Right on this frame. I just lost her. There she is. Right there is our beautiful queen. You see her? Moving through. She's checking cells. Let's see if we can see her lay. Now at this point, she's so big that she can't fly. So you don't have to worry too much about her going through, and I'd like to see her, see her going through, kind of checking cells. She reaches that honey nectar rim, turns back. There, it looks like she's checking a cell. She doesn't overly like being exposed to the sun, so let's see what she does here. There she's walking over her brood. You still see her, Sarah?
I can't.
Okay. So if you're following her, she's right here. You'll see her on video much better. There she goes, kind of towards the edge. All right, I'm gonna put her back in, make sure she's not on the edge when I do that. And then I'll very slowly move these frames over. So this is exactly what we want. They're looking really good going into winter. Honey collection is always kind of secondary to the health of the hive. So right now, we'll give them a little more time to see if they cap over any of that honey. Otherwise, we'll let them have it. There's a healthy queen in there. She's got some brood. She's up in the top box. There is real no signs, and this time of year, you don't really have to worry about swarming a whole lot. So now what I'll do going into the next couple months is I will test them for mites, and then I'll treat them for mites. There's usually a high likelihood that there will be some mites. I'll use oxalic acid vaporization, and then it's all winter preparation, getting them beefed up, and we want to elicit the queen to keep laying, and she'll actually lay workers of winter physiology. So these bees will all die within about 40 days of hatching. The winter bees will live for about 6 months, which is just wild. and the queen determines that based on the weather outside. So we'll get this hive buttoned up. That's just a cool frame. Let me get it in the sun here to try and capture all the different colors. And I haven't been bumped once. I don't think Sarah's been stung. Hopefully not.
No.
All right.
Not yet.
All right. So, the queen excluder is stuck to the bottom of this. The queen excluder's on there. It's all glued on. We'll put this right back on top. The population looks good. Now, this hive requeened themselves, so they had a period of having no brood while they did that. Usually it takes about a month. So that doesn't surprise me that both these hives don't have a ton of extra nectar or honey, but you got to remember, we took about 100 pounds of honey off of each one of these hives. So any of this additional honey would be good, but at this point, I think I would probably do them more harm than anything. They have a lot of nectar up here. We'll give them a few more weeks, we'll check it out, and then this will be full-fledged winter preparation and good to go. So thanks for watching these.